Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. Tune in for a vibrant mix of fashion, finance, and life's essential foundations. Join us for expert interviews, insightful discussions, and empowering insights to elevate your lifestyle. From fashion trends to financial tips and personal growth strategies, we've got you covered. So, grab your headphones and get ready to be inspired. Tune in now to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show and embark on this exciting journey with us.
Welcome back to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. I am your host, M. Teresa Lawrence. I am here with Mark Foster, and we're going to continue our fabulous conversation about his journey. And I did say I was calling this next section Redemption, but I misspoke. We are at the point of his life of self-reflection and expansion. He is in prison. He's in prison for a long time. Mark, I want you to share with the audience what you went through from the time you got in to the time you got out, because I'm sure you came out an entirely different person.
You know, the whole prison thing comes in sections, right? Going through youth authority, like I came from the reservations. When I ended up in California Youth Authority up in Norwalk, California, it was a shock, like the gang mentality and all that stuff that was there. I wasn't ready for it, so I ended up like doing a lot of fighting. Like just not giving up ground and not being bullied and all that stuff. Like I was alone. There was nobody else from my reservation there. There was nobody else there from my community. It was just me all by myself. So there was a lot of all right, man, I have no choice. I just got to stand up for myself. And I went through a lot of that. Made it through youth authority. And then so obviously I had other cases. I had a Fed case I was fighting. So I went out to the Feds, fought that case. I just pled guilty. Spent like a year there, went back to youth authority. Finished my time at youth authority, and once again, like, got to reestablish who you were, because not all the same people are still there, you know? Mm-hmm. So you reestablish your footprint, and then next thing you know, man, you're moving off again. So then I go back to the Feds in LA, you know.
It's got to be difficult to enter a prison each time. Like, it has to be an unpleasant experience.
No, it sucks, man. I remember sitting over there at Chino State Prison, right? And they put me in the dorm, and I was sitting underneath the big old target practice, right? And I was like, dude, I was scared, man. And I remember this guy came up. He's all, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. He goes, that's right, you're doing nothing, man. Get down here. We're going to do some push-ups. You're not going to do your whole time just laying on your bunk feeling sorry for yourself. And I was like, okay. I don't even know this dude, man. But he's like, man, kid, you got a lot to learn, boy. You better get over and start doing push-ups and start trying to live your way through this. If not, you're going to be a victim the whole time. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So that's like, I started like trying to get my body right, get my mind right, and be active. And you know, like you go through stages, man. You're gonna go through that part where you figure out how to live and have that resource and of power to a degree, right? But then all of a sudden, like young men, we take it too far, right? I'm gonna, oh yeah, this is me now, and I'm gonna be all tough. And suddenly we go too far, and I end up like being in the mix on all the bad stuff on the yard to a degree, right? And so like the stages of trying to figure out who I am, right? Like, go from this child, like frail, nobody there, and I'm gonna be so tough that nobody can mess with me. And then all of a sudden you can fall over into that bully status to a degree, right? So then you're like, oh man, I don't wanna be that guy. Then you reel it back in and you get a little bit older. Then all of a sudden you're like, you realize, man, that you miss your family, you miss your kids, you miss all those people that have been in your life this whole time that we just overlooked, right? Like my dad, I talked about my dad a little bit, overlooking my dad, right? Overlooked my grandparents, like the love of my grandparents. I remember living with my grandparents on the reservation, and I remember like dang, they were awesome. My grandpa was always talking to me about like all the old families and all the old history of the valley, and talking about how it was when it was like 1920, 1921, like still riding a horse, doing like cattle drives in San Diego County. And that stuff right there, man, it was like just sitting there hanging out with my grandparents. All of a sudden I learned that I missed it. And so like I made that turn in this time in prison. Like, of course, I got out a couple times and I went back, but it's up to me, man, to make that turn or that pivot and understand.
But you figured that out. Before it was like you were living the drift, like what other people were doing, but you figured that out.
Dude, I got to the point where like my spirit was like, this ain't you. Like, those guys are they're on this road to spend the rest of their life in prison. Like they made that visible choice. They have nothing to live for, nothing to be there when they get out, if they get out. And I'm like sitting there thinking about my grandparents. I got my mom out there, my dad's out there. I'm like, man, I need to make this turn. And I pivoted, made it back to the sweat lodge. And I just made it to where like I felt good in the sweat lodge. I was able to go to the sweat and pray.
So let me understand this. So was there a sweat lodge in prison?
Yeah, there's a lot of the prisons have sweat lodges now because like the 1978 Freedom of Religious Act allows Native Americans and all races to have access to the religious like dynamics or whatever they, we can have it, right? And what people don't understand is that rule started because the Native Americans, the Lakotas and Pine Ridge, all their family members would go right down the road to Rapid City, but they couldn't pray. So all these guys are sitting in jail, they can't pray, and they're all Lakota, they're in Indian country, but they can't pray, right?
Yes.
So then a group of people, and I have a friend named Tyrell Solway, and I met his dad, and his dad was like in DC at the time, and he helped write a lot of that legislation. But that legislation changed my life to this day. Like those guys fighting for the rights of natives, all the way from Pine Ridge and all those places, all the way here I am in California. And I have the right as a Native American to go to the sweat lodge and pray. And so like you can see what somebody who was a role model in his community, fighting for even the lesser part of his community, the people that went to jail or went to this and all that, they fought for the rights of the brothers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's even more powerful than that. They gave you your spirit back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's like, I so believe in the power of prayer.
Dude, it's amazing. What's even more amazing, I was at Sundance up in Porcupine, and I met like Terrell Solway's dad, and he was there, and I'm like, dude, I gave him a pack of cigarettes, like that tobacco offering for thank you. You kind of saved my life. You don't know me, you don't know anything about me, but you saved my life by helping to fight for that legislation.
So talk to the audience about how being able to go to the sweat lodge and really changed your life.
Oh God. Okay. So like.
So you're in prison, and now you've made the decision to change your life, and speak about the journey. What happens next?
So I'm gonna tell you, man. Like I had a friend named Sonny from down there at Chula Vista, and I met Sonny in Phoenix, Arizona, FCI, and I met Sonny over there. He was a good dude. He always looked out for me because like we're Southern California. So then he gets out, and I don't see him for a while. And then all of a sudden I see him at FCI Terminal Island, and I see Sonny. And I'm like, "What's up, bro?" And he's all, "I'm sweating. Let's go." And I'm like, "Bro, it's raining outside." He goes, "Don't matter, man. We're gonna sweat." And Sonny, man, he took me back to the sweat lodge, right? And got me back into it. And like at that time, I was so hungry because I needed something. I needed something to believe in besides just the carnage and all this and that freaking that silent rule of that prison life. You know what I mean? Like everybody's doing it, but all those dudes are going to spend the rest of their life in prison. I didn't want to, man. So I made that pivot to the sweat lodge and started peeling back the onion, man. They talk about generational trauma. They talk about just personal trauma. You talk about like just pain and suffering. But honestly, man, like the way I live my life, like I always indulged that life of misery because I was okay with it. I was okay with it on the reservation. It was miserable and like it was suffering. And I became okay with that. I became comfortable with that. And so in prison, I became comfortable with that. But then all of a sudden, like your spirit, man, inside that sweat lodge is like, I want more.
Yeah, that's not who you are.
No, it's not who I am. I want more. You know what I mean? So then like there was a group of us at the time when we were doing the sweat lodge and all that stuff that we started a Teens at Risk program over at Terminal Island. And so we had probably an hour every once in a while, an hour once a month to go in there and talk to kids that the probation departments in the region brought over, and we were able to go out there and give our 2-minute spiel, right? And so like finding a purpose, you know, outside of just, for no other words, to dummy down and participate in all that violence and stupid crap, you know what I mean? But to find a way to live and to start trying to reach out to the community from prison, like, man, God's been amazing. When I put effort in to meet God halfway, the door opens. And so the door.
Because you were giving back. Yeah. You were giving back. And when you give back, more opens up.
Such an amazing journey, you know what I mean? So like getting to that sweat lodge and finding who I am, going through those sweats and just praying, man, and opening it up and it all boils down to this, man, like for real. Learning to be vulnerable again. Learning to be vulnerable and to live life on life's terms and to be the best possible version of myself that day and still be willing to open up and to listen with.
Okay, are you guys listening to this? He's in prison and he figures out that the way out is being vulnerable and truthful with himself. I mean, it's really powerful, really beautiful.
There's a gentleman out there, his name is James Venner, right? And he came in and he was doing yoga and stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna go do some yoga, some meditation stuff, right? So I'm hanging out with James Venner. And he actually did a documentary about, it's called The Crip Who Loved Yoga, right? And it's a great thing. Like this guy's story, man, was like, he was in, I think like Venice Beach, part of a big old gang over there, went to prison, but he made a difference, man. He started doing yoga and stuff like that. He made it like more part of his life journey. He got out of prison and in the community, helping kids, like doing things in the community with like yoga and all that stuff. But James Venner, like I met that dude and me and him became friends. And like, so a lot of the yoga stuff that came into my life was such an amazing thing because the teachings of yoga are just worded different, but they're so similar to Native American.
Yeah, transformation is transformation.
Yes. And
so with that, it's time for a break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.